issues, but I think I got it resolved, and it seems to have been able to reset the password. So
I'm locked out
I
of
think
my
we're live,
Outlook
guys.
now, so I'll call IT tomorrow and have them reset my password.
All right, guys, y'all ready to get started?
Let's go.
Yeah, get used to the new format, the new setup. You know, it's new.
Yes. Thank you, Alma. We're going to get started now. Item number 1, consideration. Actually, we'll start by saying welcome to the joint conceptual meeting of the City of Franklin for October 22nd. We'll start with item number 1, consideration of a resolution 202-212. I'll get it right here in a second. A resolution declaring that the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission and Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall meet on October 22nd, 2020, and conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of the members physically present in the same location because it's necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in the light of COVID-19 outbreak.
Move for approval.
Anyone? Hold on. Anyone in the audience, public, anybody want to make a comment before Scott moves for approval? No comments, then Scott, I will assume you made a motion.
Move for approval.
Okay.
I'll
Is there a second?
I'll second. Alma seconds.
Alma second. Appreciate it. Any comments before we vote? All right, Marcia Allen. Absent. Jimmy Franks. Absent. Scott Harrison.
Aye.
Roger Lindsay. Absent. Miss McLemore.
Aye.
Michael Orr.
Aye.
Miss Peterson.
Aye.
Miss Szilagyi. And the chair votes aye. We have a motion for, actually we have to go to the alderman as well, sorry. Miss Berger.
Aye.
Sorry, I should have said Alderman Berger. Alderman McClendon. Absent. Alderman Speedy. Absent. Alderman Mayor Martin.
Yes. Wait a minute. What are we voting on?
This is just a roll call to say you're here.
Present.
Present. Thank you. Alderman Barnhill. Absent. Alderman Bransford. Okay. Alderman Blanton. Absent as well. Alderman. Mayor Moore.
With great enthusiasm. I endorse it.
You sound like you're really close. All right. Motion passes. Then we'll start with the announcement for limited public access. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen and Franklin Municipal Planning Commission joint workshop will limit physical access in the meeting room due to current limitations on public gatherings to prevent further spread of COVID-19 and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the City of Franklin officials, staff, and citizens. The purpose of this meeting will be to conduct a project review workshop. No decisions on applications will be made at this meeting pursuant to the bylaws. This meeting does not provide for public comment, therefore viewing only options will be provided. Accommodations have been made to ensure the public is able to view the meeting. Public may view the meeting in the following ways: watch the meeting on Franklin TV or the City of Franklin website, watch the live stream through the City of Franklin Facebook and YouTube accounts. Limited viewing will be available in the lobby of City Hall to watch the live video. Masks are required in City Hall. All right, we'll start then with item number 2, which is a discussion of the development plan proposing 8 single family and 32 condominium units on 13.8 acres located at 171 Hill Haven Lane, Hill Haven PUD. Is there someone representing the applicant that wanted to present?
Yes, hi, this is Greg Gamble, and I'm here with Jeff Rosiak. We are socially distancing in our conference room, and appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. To keep things efficient for you, we have 2 proposed development plans for you to review this evening and 1 development plan revision. So we will move quickly through those. You have to share the screen for it to work. The first is a proposal at the end of Hillhaven Lane by the Community Housing Partnership. The Community Housing Partnership is a not-for-profit based here in Franklin, and they have a pursuit to identify opportunities for affordable housing in Franklin. This is a property where they believe that this can be achieved, and are extremely excited about proposing this to you tonight. This is Hillhaven Lane, located right here. It parallels McCatcher Parkway and has an intersection with Liberty Pike here. There's a second connection into the adjacent residential neighborhood here. And at the end of Hillhaven Lane is an existing single-family house that you can just barely see the rooftop of right here. There was a house on this property several years ago. They had some problems with some people living in the house and decided it was best to tear it down. So that house has now been removed. And there are no other structures on the property today. The current zoning of the site is estate residential. The proposed plan is to rezone the property to a PD district, planned district. Envision Franklin has 2 policies on the property. One is the conservation policy, which is the HHO area. And really the intent here is the protection of the area that is Roper's Knob. The existing house constructed along McCatcher is located about here and is within the HHO limits today. The house that's been removed was also within the HHO and was located about right here. The other policy on the property is conservation subdivision. Conservation subdivision promotes the preservation of 50% of the site to be left as open space. It also permits single-family detached homes, duplex homes, and big houses. Our proposed master plan includes the preservation of 68.7% of the property. A lot of this preservation area is undevelopable. Here you see the limit of the HHO. The HHO does extend down past the clearing where the previous house was located. So that's right here in this area. There is a stream on the property that starts at a spring that comes out from the side of the hill. This stream has buffers, 60 foot from both sides on the top of the bank. Also, along McCatcher Parkway, there is a 150-foot scenic corridor buffer. So this area here alongside the property line will be protected and preserved in its natural state. Within the area that is developable, we're proposing 8 single-family detached homes on lot sizes that match those homes that we back up to on Arsenal Drive. We have intentionally left an open space area here behind and between the 2 single-family lots to protect and preserve the existing tree line that's along the property, to also convey stormwater that comes off of this hill and directly cuts across our neighbors' backyards, and a lot of times just creating, a lot of scenarios is creating some problems with erosion, and they need some better stormwater controls for their backyard. So as that water comes off the hill, within this open space area, we'll have a berm and a swale that'll capture that water, sending it over to a stormwater area that will detain that and slowly release it into the Hillhaven Lane right of way so that it can be conveyed out of the property. Opposite of the single family detached homes, we have 8 big houses. These are 4 units on top, or 4 units, 2 on top of, 2 on the upstairs, 2 on the downstairs. They're accessed from both the front and the rear, and I'll show you elevations of those in just a moment. We have parallel parking along our new road. This parallel parking will provide guest parking for visitors who are coming to visit, but will also provide parking potentially for a trailhead to access trails one day that would go up to Roper's Knob. We're proposing the dedication of this 6 acres here to the City of Franklin. The City of Franklin currently owns this land directly to the west. The land directly to the west was purchased by the Heritage Foundation and donated to the City of Franklin several years ago. The donation of this 6 acres here for parkland dedication would complement the land that the city already owns. To the north, the area that's actually Roper's Knob proper, that's currently owned by the state of Tennessee. So we're starting to put together the puzzle pieces where hiking trails, biking trails, or accessibility to Roper's Knob and the significant Civil War asset would be available to the general public in the future. So behind the single family homes here, we have an area of open space that's between 20 and 25 acres. Here you see the berm and the swale that we're creating that's going to help diminish the stormwater impacts along our neighbors here that are facing on Arsenal. Big houses, this is the front elevation of a big house. Again, 2 units on top, 2 units down here on the ground floor. They would have one door fronting out onto the public street and the public sidewalk. So to capture the look and feel of one house, one single family house. This is the rear elevation and the access from the parking area behind. The parking area in the behind will be screened by landscape and by the architecture of the big houses. These are all 2-story and are a big component of the affordability of the homes within the community. The single family detached homes are predominantly 1-story in size. They are approximately equal in square footage to those existing homes that are on Arsenal today. They range between about 1,400 square feet to 2,000 square feet. These homes will generally sell between $315,000 and $300,000. Again, staying within that affordable price point level. With the Community Housing Partnership's commitment to affordability, they also include deed restrictions on the property that these may not be rented. They must be owner occupied. They can only be sold to qualifying families who earn 80% of the median income. All of the area that is owned here in common will be owned and managed by the HOA, Homeowners Association. So if you live in the big house condominium, which is for sale, not for rent, all of the ground and the open space around it will be maintained by the Homeowners Association. For the single family lots here, the individual lots, the maintenance of those lots will be maintained by the homeowner themselves, just like homeowners that are on Arsenal Drive or any other single family lot throughout the city of Franklin. So this is a Google Earth image with our proposed development superimposed, and we wanted to just give you a little bit of context. Here is Hillhaven with the existing house located along Mac Hatcher and our proposed development plan. If you are hovering in an aircraft above Mac Hatcher or standing on the traffic signal, you would just be able to see the top of the roof line here of our proposed big houses. So again, this is Roper's Knob. When you're driving down Mac Hatcher, you'll see this house. It's pretty clear to see on a normal day. But if you come down here to about the height of the stone excavated wall along Mac Hatcher, that's about the height of the roof line of where we are. So we're really nestled down in this little valley right here, just down at the base of the bottom of the hill. current GIS shows this purple area here as the scenic corridor overlay. Does it show the next? Typical Mac Hatcher offset for a right-of-way, the right-of-way width of Mac Hatcher would be about 60 feet from the sidewalk. So looking at the previous, if we were on the sidewalk coming over about 60 feet, that would be the typical right-of-way. Based upon the information that we have in our available to us from the property maps, Hillhaven Lane is included in the state-owned right-of-way of Mac Hatcher. We believe that there's some oddity to this scenic corridor overlay line, the way that it jogs out. And we're going to ask the Board of Zoning Appeals to clarify the exact location of that scenic corridor overlay, where that 150-foot scenic preservation line needs to land, and therefore that's our next step. Instead of going to the Planning Commission next, we're going to be going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So you may see some information about Board of Zoning Appeals agenda where this item is being requested to be heard. So wanted to spend just a little bit of time tonight explaining why we're doing that and what that request is, but having them give us an interpretation and helping us locate exactly where that 150-foot corridor buffer needs to be located. With that, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Greg. Staff, any comments you want to make?
Nothing additional. I think Greg covered it pretty well.
Okay, great.
One other thing I'd like to add, and I completely forgot about, and that is down here at the end of Hillhaven Lane, where Hillhaven intersects Liberty Pike, it's engineering's recommendation that we turn that into a right in, right out for safety considerations due to its proximity to Mac Hatcher Parkway.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners and Mayor and Board of Aldermen, I'm going to start at the top of the list and I'll just go down through. And if you have any comments, you're welcome to make those now. So is Miss Allen here yet? Marcia? No comments? Okay. Then Mr. Franks, are you here yet? Okay. Then we'll move on to Scott Harrison.
No comments at this time.
Okay. Roger Lindsay, have you joined us?
I have. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'll open this up then. This kind of represents the first in a while anyway, effort to locate something on the what I've always kind of perceived to be the rising slope of Roper's Knob. It is an area I think that that we've all agreed since back in the days when we started working on small area plans around the Franklin Road Mac Hatcher intersection, was that there was a need to be careful about what we did around that intersection, certainly, but around the historic area that makes up the two knobs that are on that site. The installation of, quote, big houses, end quote, is always frightening to me, because that was what was going to go in at the Iron Horse development. And those aren't big houses, those are gargantuan houses. And so I just have concerns about, you know, ultimately the construction of large stuff. And I appreciate that Greg showed us a simulated Google Earth look at the fact that only the roofs would be peeking out among the trees. But I think it's also important that Greg understands that this is you know, the modification from a state residential to something that involves, you know, multi-family uses, big houses, and just generally stuff that's built all the way up to the edge of the hillside overlay is something that causes me a little concern. So,
Okay.
Thank you, Roger. Ms. McLemore?
Oh, I'm just thinking about the runoff. Well, I know that there would be some solutions to that, but that's one of the things that I think about the people on Arsenal Drive, and Rick can explain. Well, all of this would have to go through stormwater, and it has to go through the city process, and everything has to be calculated to make sure that doesn't happen if something like this was voted for approval. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And one more thing. I heard
Please.
the last part of your price point, but I heard the 300. What was the number before that up to? You said between?
We are still working through the final purchase price points of the houses. The appraised price per square foot would be approximately equivalent to what you're finding here in the adjacent neighborhood or higher. We expect these homes to sell for anywhere between 300 to 315,000. Now, Community Housing Partnership, they pursue grants that help homeowners purchase houses if they qualify for those grants, and that's the intent here. So they likely would be able to purchase these houses for lower price points than what I'm telling you today. The big houses, those would sell between 250 to 275,000 each. And to answer the question that was brought up just a moment ago about its relationship or comparison to Iron Horse, after Iron Horse, city staff put more design parameters around what a big house is. And so these homes would only have four units in them with a width between 40 and 50 feet. These are much smaller buildings than what you see at Iron Horse.
Right. Michael Orr, any comments?
Yeah, have you reached out to the owner of that 5-acre estate lot to get their opinion on what's being proposed?
Yes, and they were happy to see that we were going to be actually putting something here that would keep eyes on the street and eyes in this area. They've had a problem with people camping there, spending the night, staying out, cops having to come over, being called. So having something here that would stop that and eliminate that was seen as a very big plus from our adjacent neighbor.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Ms. Peterson.
No comment right now.
Okay. Ms. Szilagyi?
I have a couple things. This is right in the area where I reside. And I know one thing on the relationship of Hillhaven Lane as it relates to Mac Hatcher. Just wanted to ask if there was going to be a traffic study done. I know there's, if a car is turning right only into Hillhaven Lane, it does back up the turn lane. And I've seen some kind of close calls happening when a car starts to slow down in that very short segment between Mac Hatcher and Hillhaven. So I know that would be my traffic concern. Let's see. Also, I know that this additional amount of housing, it's not like a massive subdivision, but I could also see there being a traffic impact because I know all of the areas out of this neighborhood and also the neighboring one, the Hill Estates, there's no lights and it's extremely difficult to turn out of any of these places. Usually you have to wait a good, 5 minutes for an opening to step on the gas and squeal out into the other lane. Let's see. Stormwater considerations. I also know kind of being off of this hill area is that can definitely in a heavy rain event, I've seen sheet flow water going across where just the infrastructure cannot keep up with it because it kind of drains the whole knob down there. So that would be consideration. I think, I see that you're taking measures to kind of prevent issues happening from these people's backyards, but also for your own. I see the stormwater and I know it'll be sized appropriately, but I know in heavy rain events, it's a little crazy over there. Other thing too is that the neighborhood adjacent to this was recently rezoned as into R4 residential, which is a historic district now. And my question about the architecture and the style is that it's the planned district, and while currently the houses in that subdivision, they have a lot of vinyl siding, and understanding kind of I think a lot of them were built in the 70s to 60s. But however, that is still R4, and you can already see it in some of the neighborhoods, but as these houses get older, they're being either extensively renovated, gutted and redone, or which will happen probably, in the next 10 years, they're going to be leveled and rebuilt. And of course, when they're going to rebuild, they're going to have to match the R4 design guidelines. So long-term, thinking about this property and whatever goes on it, that eventually this neighborhood next door is going to be very much an R4. So that would be something I would like to see as kind of consideration to the neighbors and their architectural design guidelines. And then the last question I have for you is just if there's any active considerations of any development of the city-owned area and also the state-owned, because I know you're talking about hiking trails, but I didn't know if there's anything actively on the boards that they're thinking of doing for that.
Sure, let me address those. Regarding traffic impact study, we don't meet the trigger that would require a traffic impact study. However, we are working with CEC. There are civil engineers. Bert Norton is on the call tonight, hearing your comments as well. And they certainly have traffic engineers that would have the ability to do maybe a narrative or a letter of impact. We'll get with engineering department and talk to them about that as well. Maybe there's a summary of a traffic study that we could do, or something that would start to address your concerns, not only regarding the traffic impacts, but also safety considerations. And the safety considerations is one of the things that Jimmy Wiseman, Lance, and Adam Mosier were concerned about too, at the intersection of Hillhaven Lane and Macatcher, and is the reason why they have asked us to, or told us that they're going to include a right in, right out condition at that intersection. Regarding the stormwater, we recognize that if we did not have some kind of stormwater control along that property line, we would likely exacerbate the problems that they're having now. By putting the stormwater controls in, we're actually eliminating an issue and a problem that they're currently having. So we see that as a win-win. Regarding the R4 residential district, I'll look and review those architectural guidelines. I know that the single-family homes and the big house architecture will both be built out of lasting materials. These are to be constructed not using vinyl siding, that's for sure, but with hardy board siding, with brick stone where appropriate and necessary. But I'll review those, and we can write something that kind of has a comparison between R4 and what we're proposing here. Regarding the city-owned area to the west, it has a deed restriction on it. And that deed restriction says that a parking area can be provided, but it's intended for walking trails and natural paths. And there are no considerations today on providing either one of those. We had initially approached the Parks Department about providing some greenway trail asphalt paths as a part of parkland dedication. They were not ready to do that yet as a part of the Parks Master Plan. And so we're dedicating this land here, this 6 acres, to the city of Franklin to contribute and kind of complement what's being assembled up here. Also, to add to the quality of what we're doing here, all of these homes will be provided fire sprinkler systems.
Hey, thank you very much for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Alderman Berger.
Hi, yes. Okay, real quick, Roger mentioned something about being concerned about these homes looking too big, the big houses. You might want to take a look at the big houses on Turning Wheel Lane. They are exactly what Greg was talking about here, 2 up, 2 down. And Greg, if you make these, Greg, let me ask you, let me back up real quick. Let me ask you, are those just placeholder pictures, or is that representative of the architecture?
This is what we would be doing. I'll flip back to the elevation.
Okay. Who's doing the architecture on this?
Dave Purser lead.
All right. Well, I would suggest.
These are about 5 foot narrower than what you see on Turner. So
Yeah. I suggest you take a good look at there's some good elements. There's not it's not top of the line as far as the elements, but there are some good elements, I think, in the condos. And I would over there in Turning Wheel Lane, and those are the big houses. And this looks so plain and so nondescript and I would think each one would be different than the other. So you don't have a row of everything looking the same. And the back end of that too as well. I think you could all work on the architecture a little bit. The way I don't have a problem the way architecture is, but it's just the elements of it. So I just wanted to throw that out there because when Roger brought that up, I thought, yeah, I would be concerned with it too. But at the same time, if you look at the ones that are in Turning Wheel Lane, it does look like a big house. And it doesn't look like, oh, are there four condos? Are there 4 houses in there? You really don't know that. So take a look at that and see if you can incorporate some different facades on those, because I think they all should look a little different. The trail system to Roper's Knob, I would love to see that happen because it's a place that nobody can ever access. What good is it if nobody ever accesses this beautiful place? So I think having a trail system up there is going to be great. And the only other thing I was curious about, the price point seems pretty decent. I think everybody asked some other questions that I was interested in, but Jennifer mentioned something about a neighborhood next to it that was just designated. Did I hear that right or wrong? Historic?
Yeah, that whole area, this neighborhood and the neighborhood next to it, I believe was recently rezoned, and it's R4 district, which I think does have historic. Is a historic district.
How does
Can I clarify that? It's not in the it was not given historic preservation overlay status.
No.
It's just a base district that is it's more contextual based. So infill and redevelopment in the area is based more on what's on the ground today versus just a straight set of standards and setbacks.
Good.
All right.
Jennifer, you maybe can looking at the Envision Franklin historic residential category, which is an established pattern of residential lots. But right, there's no historic zoning commission overlay on the
Yeah,
district.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, not the historic overlay. No.
No, okay, because they were built in the 60s and 70s. I'm like, I don't think so, but yeah. I'm like, did I miss something here? Yeah, so it's more of a contextual base. So you want something along that lineage of age of that architecture. Isn't that what you're saying, Amy?
No, the zoning district that's there, it's contextual based on the lot sizes and the setbacks. The architecture that would apply to both the R4 district and this district would be the building types that we have in the new zoning ordinance. So the quads would have to comply with our multiplex building standards, and the single family would have to comply with our single family building type standards.
As with this Hillhaven development, the quad would also apply to the building standards.
Correct.
Okay.
Which have been upgraded since, our previous zoning ordinance. So they'll be, so that they should comply with them.
And some of the issues that I saw over there on Turning Wheel Lane certainly have been addressed and upgraded as well. So yeah, I would feel more comfortable with that. And I don't have a problem with the big houses as long as they're architecturally done right and that they are not all the same, that they all look different. So, because that's the whole point. You want it to make it look like there are different homes here.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. That's all my comments. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Bev. Alderman McClendon, are you here yet? Okay. Alderman Speedy, did you arrive? No. Alderman Martin.
I have several comments. Question, will the 8 homes be a part of the homeowners association as the big houses?
Yes.
All right, that's important because if I bought a house in one of these 8 houses and the homeowners association is taking care of the big houses and the lawns and the parking lot, and I let my yard grow up and throw garbage in it, I need to be accountable to somebody. So I would hope that they would all be a part of the same homeowners association.
Absolutely.
As well. All right. Now, will the retention pond, is it retention or detention down there, Greg, in the
Detention. It will not hold standing water from it.
whatever that thing is down there? Will that be detrimental to the Arsenal people, Arsenal Drive people? Will that hold enough water to take care of it so it does not run down on Arsenal Drive?
We have to do the math, and we have some more surveying to be done prior to construction documents and site plan submittal. We believe that we've located it in the best place, and we'll have to design it in such a way where it is not detrimental to our adjacent neighbors.
Okay, all right, that's good. Now, may I have the slide to the pictures of the buildings?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I know I've hurt Mike Hathaway when I talk about some of his designs, but Mike, if you designed this, I'm sorry.
No, I did not.
But it looks a little bit like a military barracks.
Okay. You have the single family homes, and I think what I'm hearing is, bring these elements of the single family homes to the big houses.
Well, I like the single family. They're fine with me. But that big house, it is so plain. Maybe it's because it's white. But it just looks like it's sitting out there in the middle of nowhere with not enough windows. I don't think it has enough windows. And it just, it's so, it looks a little bit between the barracks and a hospital barracks.
No, that's good input. We can work with that. We'll do some adjusting here on the architecture.
I know you're smart, and I know you can do that. I know you can. It doesn't have to
good people to lean on.
Okay. The siding, the hardy board siding's good. Let's see. Architecture and the retention pond and the homeowners association needs to be responsible for all of it. That's all I want to say. And I just recommend this highly. And I've had several, I know most of us have had emails from people who are supporting this. 1 or 2 aren't, but they just don't know that it's going to build up the neighborhood. So I do support this, and I think this is a wonderful start for this.
Thank you, Margaret. Alderman Barnhill? Not arrived yet? Okay. Alderman Bransford? No? How about Alderman Blanton? All right, Mr. Mayor, you have the last word.
Boy, I love to wrap it up. I agree with my neighbor, Mrs. Martin, too, Alderman Martin. First of all, I think it's exciting that we're trying to get into a price point for whatever we want to call this, more attainable housing for some of our workers, and applaud community housing partners for that. I want to make sure that we are being very conscious of the historical significance of Roper's Knob. I need to know a little bit more about the traffic. You know, that's a narrow road and it's right there next to Mac Hatcher. I appreciate what Ms. Salachi said about sensitivity to the neighborhood there. It would be appropriate and complimentary. And I would agree with Ms. Martin that those big houses lack something. I'm not sure what it is, but they need a little something. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, before you move on, I didn't
Yeah.
say anything about that, but I did. I guess I wanted to say something about that plainness as well. I mean, it looked, it's as plain as anything I've seen come forward for a long time. And there's got to be a lot of work done on that, the elevations, because they do not, it doesn't look good at all. It is very plain. And I know it's been said by 3 other people, but I wanted to put my comments in on that as well, because I know if we're going to do a project, an affordable or attainable housing project, we still want it to look good. It's not, we're not going to sell out to a bad design. I mean, that's not going to help anything. So I wanted to get my little 2 cents in on that part too.
Great. Thank you, Alma.
Mike, can I just say one quick
Hi,
thing?
Mike.
Ma'am.
Yeah. Not that I'm in love with at all, particularly. I mean, they're fine. They're fine and they're okay. The ones on Turning Wheel Lane. But Greg, if you take a look at those over there, I'd like for you to drive over and take a look at them. They have a front porch, and people are able to sit out on the front porch. It's very nice that most all of those have front porches. And I think that's an element could be added here. Thanks.
Thank you. Somebody else spoke. Was that you, Scott?
This is Jimmy Franks.
Oh, Jimmy, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yes, sir. A really good thing to provide housing up there at moderate pricing. But I agree that it's got to be a craftsman look. We built the West Main, and Dave Purse was a great architect there that designed that, and the color scheme and the palette and all went together very well. So I know he can do it, and just the developer obviously needs to, come back with the right look there. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Applicant and Greg and the gang. We're going to move on to item number 3, which is a discussion of a development plan proposing 38 single-family units on actually 52 acres located on 1190 Lewisburg Pike called Tuckaway PUD. We're going to start, instead of starting with the applicant, I think Jimmy Wiseman wants to say some things, so I'll open the floor to him.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wanted to touch briefly on the topic of connectivity as it relates to this project. Greg will fill you in, but this month the Highway Commission, the County Highway Commission, voted to gate Crossway Drive, which is to the rear of this parcel. So there will be a full public street or connection to that right of way, but it will be gated in the county. Additionally, the applicant is asking for a modification of standards to not show connectivity to the 18 acres south of this parcel, which would force more traffic through existing county subdivisions if and when it were to develop. So what we're creating here is a dead end subdivision with no future connectivity in sight. So just wanted to highlight that and just for discussion as we look at this item. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. All right, Greg, you want to kick this one off?
I do. Thank you. This is a property that is located off of Lewisburg Pike. It's just north of Oakview Elementary School and Heritage Legacy Middle School. These were recently annexed into the city of Franklin. This red dashed line here is the sewer line that has been extended to serve sewer by the county and the city of Franklin to the elementary school and middle school. This is the Henpeck Market, which is now a preschool. So we're just to the north of that, located right off of Lewisburg Pike and south of Sullivan Farms. In Envision Franklin, the policy for this property is single-family residential homes and conservation on the back. The existing zoning of the property is Municipal Growth Area 1. The county identifies this property in the Municipal Growth Area when it is within the city, a municipality's urban growth boundary. This is within the city of Franklin's urban growth boundary and has that base zone of MGA 1. We're proposing a planned development district, PD district, to give a little bit more flexibility in lot sizes, but also to have a mixture of lot sizes. As Jimmy Weissman pointed out earlier, Williamson County Highway Commission voted for emergency connection only to Crossway Drive. In conversations with the engineering department, they've asked that this cul-de-sac be extended all the way to the property line of this location, so that in the event there's full connection in the future, there wouldn't be any additional money spent other than removing the gates in that particular location. My client and the Cross family are requesting that this subdivision and this new road be a gated community. Here at the entrance, you can see a median with 2 gates located right off of Lewisburg Pike. There is an area where cars can turn around. So if they pull in and they can't get through the gate code, they can pull right back out and access Lewisburg Pike. Due to gating this would be a private street, but would be constructed to public street standards, meaning that it would have the same dimensional widths, asphalt travel lanes, sidewalks on both sides of the street. So this road would be built to the current standards, but we're proposing that it be private and gated. We have four lots here that are over 1 acre in size, fronting onto Lewisburg Pike. We're showing a frontage shared drive for these so that they don't have to access back out onto Lewisburg Pike in order to access those 1 acre lots. There's concern by city staff about trash delivery or trash pickup and emergency services. And so we are currently reworking this area with engineering and planning, continuing that conversation. There's likely to be a redesign of this area here. Just to give you a bit of forewarning, we don't have design consensus yet, but I continue to work through that. We have 2 neighborhoods here to our south that are in the county, Douglas Glen subdivision and Durham Manor subdivision. We have an undeveloped property that's in between the 2 of them. During our neighborhood meetings and conversations with our adjacent neighbors, they have strongly expressed a desire to eliminate a connection to this property boundary along the south, which is currently in the county. We're asking in a modification of standards to not have a connection along this southern property boundary as a result of that. These are 1 acre lots that are within their subdivisions. They are septic tanks. We have 1 acre lots that are proposed alongside the Douglas Glen subdivision boundary. We have 2 acre lots that are backing up to the HHO area. On the opposite side of the street, these are still estate lots ranging in size from 95 foot in width to over 150 foot in width. We have several community open space areas, a community park here that will be integrated into the neighborhood. These will have small gathering areas, gathering spaces. That's where we'll have our mailbox kiosk and cluster mailboxes. We'll incorporate seating areas, fire pit areas, opportunities for community and the neighbors to gather. We started our master plan before we even started designing it, looking at the adjacent neighborhood densities. Douglas Glen and Durham Manor, which we just discussed, are between 0.58 and 0.8 homes per acre. Windsor Park on the other side of Lewisburg Pike is 0.85. Oakwood Estates and Oakleaf, they have a total density of 0.75. We're proposing a total combined density here of 0.73 homes per acre. This is a perspective rendering looking down at the existing site, and then our property superimposed, master plan superimposed then on the land. You can see we have existing tree canopy along this southern boundary. We are proposing a 20-foot landscape buffer alongside a 20-foot drainage easement in that location to preserve the trees, to provide additional buffering and address stormwater concerns in those areas. We are enhancing the northern property boundary with a landscape plan and landscape buffer along its entire length, not only to create privacy for our adjacent neighbors, but to create privacy for the future homeowners as well. This plan shows the two modification of standards, one to eliminate the to the south, and also a modification of standards here to allow for emergency connection only per the Historic Zoning Commission. Again, we are reworking this area, so we'll come back to you with a modified plan after we have a chance to work out these design details with engineering and planning. With that, there's architecture. Yeah, we'll go through this. So total impact fees, this is something that as we've been working through our neighborhood meetings, they've been very interested in. This development will contribute $163,000 toward the City of Franklin Parks Department's park improvements within this quadrant. There will be a total of $380,000 approximately that will be contributed to Williamson County Schools for their impact fees. Total, we have about $41,000 per house that will be contributed to both Williamson County and the City of Franklin through the impact fees, totaling about $1.5 million. We know that there are improvements coming to the intersection of Goose Creek Bypass and Lewisburg Pike, and continue to understand additional road improvements on Goose Creek Bypass proposed by Boyle. We know that the Long Lane Overpass is #1 on the CIP agenda, and we're starting to see more connectivity and more road traffic distribution within this quadrant of the City of Franklin. Oakview Elementary School opened this year with a capacity of 69%. Legacy Middle School opened with a capacity of 44%. Independence High School just had a significant addition to the high school, and they currently have a capacity of 87%. This area of Williamson County Schools is really one of the best situated in our city for future growth due to the lower capacities that are in these schools today. This development would contribute about 30 students to the overall school system. Our next step would be submittal and proposal to the Planning Commission on December 10th. Happy to answer any questions that you need. I'm going to flip back to the overall master plan.
Thank you, Greg. All right, folks. Marcia Allen, are you here yet? You want to comment?
Actually, I've been here on and off since 4:35. I've had computer problems.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. I actually do have some questions. I guess one of the things I need to make clear that I will definitely oppose just about any subdivision that's proposed without connectivity. Going back to my old days of being an alderman at that time, that was over public safety, but we'll talk about that. So you need to know that up front. But one of the other things that I have a question about is this being a private road and making sure that private roads are maintained. That is, when you get a pothole, the HOA fills it, not the city, because that's what a private road does. At least that's how it used to be. However, it does still, from what I've been understanding, what you're talking about with city services as far as trash pickup. Trash pickup will be maintained by the city. That's what I'm hearing, correct?
I don't know that we've made that determination yet, whether this would be private or public. I think that's an ongoing conversation.
That's something I definitely want.
Can I add as a staff, we didn't get a chance to say anything yet, but the zoning ordinance does require all residential lots to front a public street. So that would be staff stance, is that this is a public road without a gate.
Okay, thank you. Because when he was talking, so that's something. Okay, so I'll stop talking now, because until that's made clear, I'll have a lot of questions about this private road with the gate and all of that. But I just definitely want to make clear that I will have a problem with no connectivity with this subdivision or any. Thanks.
Thank you, Marcia. I realize that I did step over staff, and I apologize. So I'm going to go back in time and act as if that never happened. And Marcia, if you want to say everything that you said again, I'll let you, but I'm going to go back to staff and have them give comments.
Just really quick, on the same page, we would not support the MOSs for the connectivity to eliminate the connectivity access. So, and then Amy said earlier about the public streets. So that's all, everything additional for me.
Okay, thank you, Joey. All right, Mr. Franks.
Yeah, I'd like staff to point out to me what cross access are you speaking of? I see one going back to the east through that 7-acre tract of land, I believe, fronting 31. Is he speaking to the south, or where else is he wanting cross access?
It's a requirement of the zoning ordinance to extend to all directions, north, south, east, and west, in particular when there's large vacant tracts of land. So that one to the south, that large one right where the word landscape was, there we go. He's got the slide there. So that would be the requirement, that it goes to that direction. And if you can tell to the south, those two subdivisions sort of die into that parcel as well. And so it would be an opportunity to create within that vacant parcel a T intersection perhaps that then goes north and allows for more connectivity throughout the entire area.
Okay, but other than that, I like the plan.
Yeah, we're very interested in your input on this. This was one of the things that this adjacent neighborhood was most vocal about, which was not having this connection. We asked Williamson County for full connection here. They granted it to be emergency only. We are going to be bringing this road all the way to the property line for future connection in the future, later. We also have the stub out here to the adjacent property. But I am interested in your input on connectivity to the south, to the county's property.
Okay, thank you. Scott?
Yeah, overall, I like the plan. I like the connectivity to the top, to the north. I thought that was being eliminated, so I'm glad that's going to be emergency access only, so you still have it existing. I would like to see you get it worked out to the south, to the vacant land below. But overall, I like the plan.
Okay, thank you. Roger?
Yeah, I think it represents a pretty good shot at trying to accommodate the features of the shape of that development, and then from a density perspective, it looks like it's a pretty close match with surrounding properties, even though a lot of those are 1 acre or so to accommodate septic tanks. There still kind of appears to be consistency in the densities to surrounding areas. So that's all the comments I have at this point.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Alma?
No comments at this time. I think
all right.
Everything that I was thinking.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, just one thing. The cul-de-sac at the end, is there a way to incorporate that little stub out road as a driveway to one of those houses so it gets used and doesn't just?
This will be brought all the way to the property line. This will be pushed further all the way to Crossway Drive.
Right, but there would be no reason for anybody to go down it unless it becomes part of the driveway access to that in-house is off of it. At least it will get some use. I mean, until they may never allow it to be a complete connection.
I'll study that for sure.
All right, that's it.
All right, thank you, Michael. Ms. Peterson?
First of all, if the Williamson County Highway Commission denied access there, it will not be done unless they change their mind. There was absolutely nothing that we can do if they have stopped that. The other thing is that for the potential access to the south, I attended meetings where neighbors were talking about this. Virtually everyone that lives south of this area was against having potential drive-throughs through their neighborhood.
I mean, you know, they have purchased property there, the way it looks now. But the other thing is that they said that everybody would be cutting through their neighborhoods, and I can believe that that is a strong possibility if there is a required connection there. And as I say, I would almost describe the comments about that as absolutely negative. And that is still in the county. They would only be able to get into the city if they requested annexation themselves. Remember that? That is the only way that annexation occurs anymore. The city cannot annex anything unless the property owners have requested it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Ms. Szilagyi?
Yeah, I gotta talk kind of generally about my stance on connectivity. I think connectivity, it's something that is a requirement and request of our first responders, and it has to do directly to, you know, health and life safety. And so for me to maximize connection is very important because of that. I do understand too that the residents south of this parcel are very much not in favor of it. And I also understand that that is county. But with that said, I say wherever you can maximize it and to not put compromises on connections. And I know also, you know, putting gates on lots for emergency access, you know, would the first responder would like to see that open, and that in a way is a compromise on that, though still functional to the purpose. But yeah, beyond that, that would be kind of my only comment.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Berger.
No comments right now.
All right. Alderman McClendon, you arrived yet? No. Speedy? Alderman Martin? Ms. Margaret, are you still with us? Oh.
She's here but muted.
Yeah. Famous last words of 2020. Can't get her unmuted. All right, we'll move to Alderman Barnhill. Has he arrived? No. Pearl? Alderman Blanton? Okay, before we go to Mr. Mayor Moore, is Alderman Martin available yet? Can we speak? Can you speak? Okay, we'll go to the mayor.
Chair, I'm sorry,
Oh, there you are. No, that's the wrong one.
No, this is me. It's me. Before we go to the mayor, you said you could come back to me. I'd like to
I'm sorry.
just real quick now that we say that. So since, as Alderman Peterson pointed out, since the county does take precedence over us in these things, I think we should be very careful then before we annex into the county. We should look at connectivity issues such as these before we annex. So before the property owner comes to us to request it, I think we need to look closely at connectivity issues before we say yes. And that's all I'll say on it.
Thank you, Marcia. All right, Mayor Moore.
I echo everything Margaret said. She's unmuted now.
Oh, she is. Okay, great.
All right.
Welcome back to the world, Margaret.
I'm sorry. I really like the frontage drive. I know you say you're going to redo it, but I really like that idea, and I know you'll do a good job there. I hate to oppose my fellow city folks, but I declare this thing about connectivity. I think sometimes it's good, but I don't think it's good all the time. And I am terribly opposed to this south connection. You know, I know that you don't believe me, but I know there are neighborhoods that have been absolutely destroyed by our idea of that you have to connect neighborhoods. You know, you do not have to connect them as long as there are two ways out and the neighborhood isn't any bigger than this one. I don't see why there must be a connection. First of all, if you do put that road into the south, would it be gated also if this is a gated community?
It sounds like there may be some hurdles we have to address with whether the community is gated or not. We'll have to continue to discuss that with city staff.
All right. When you have a private street, if that's a private street through there, would the homeowners association think that would they know they were responsible for repaving when the time came? Because that doesn't always work. When Fieldstone Farms wanted their roads to be private, we said fine. They were determined they wanted to take care of their own roads. And then when the time came to pave, there wasn't enough money in the homeowners association to do it. So they had to come before the city, want them to take over. And so, you know, I just don't know how that works. But if that's going to be a private road, then they're responsible for taking care of it, for the maintenance of it. But I am opposed to that southern connection, and I don't think it's right for Durham Manor and Douglas Glen to have to put up with anything else coming through them. They didn't ask to be annexed. They didn't ask for this neighborhood, and I don't think we have a right to go into their property and make it a road through. I really just don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Margaret.
Chairman Hathaway?
Yes.
My client Jim Cross is also on the call list tonight and would like to make a couple of comments.
Sure, please.
Thanks, Mike. I'll make this quick. We've talked a lot about this southern connection to that property and just wanted to go back briefly to explain this. We initially had a plan that showed that, and we really liked that plan, actually. And we're not opposed to putting that southern connection in. But part of this process that you have to go through as a developer is you have to have these public meetings and you have to have these neighborhood meetings. And the reason you have that is because you want the neighbors' input into what you're doing. We got their input. We changed these lots to acre lots. We did lots of things. We took that connection out. We've actually dropped our density from where we first started. And we come back to you with that impact for what the neighbors have asked us to do. And if the city says you have to put that southern connection in, we're okay with it. But just know that the city hall boardroom is going to be full of all these neighbors down there saying they don't want it. And then I'd hate for this project to get turned down because all these neighbors show up saying they don't want this connection, but yet you're telling us we have to put this connection in. So I just wanted you to know we're not opposed to it. We initially showed it, but we're just trying to be good neighbors and you know, everybody. And once we've made these changes, all of the phone calls and all the emails have all settled down since those changes have been made. So they saw that we made, you know, we heard what they had to say and we made changes to what they wanted to say. That's one thing. The second thing is on the private gated roads or gated community. I'm really, I guess, disappointed to see that the city doesn't really have a way to make a private gated community. I think this is a perfect example of how one could be done. It's a very small development with only 38 lots, 39 lots. We would, as a developer, seed the homeowners association with funds to be escrowed for maintenance of this road. And it's small enough that these number of lots can handle that. It's not like a Fieldstone Farms or some other large subdivision like that.
That's
so,
true.
Those are just two comments. We're not opposed to the southern connection. And I'd like to think that that there's a way that you can do a private gated community still in the city of Franklin, and that our zoning ordinance has not completely eliminated that option. So thank you for letting me make those comments. Appreciate your help.
All right, thank you, Jim. Mayor Moore, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we finally got Miss Martin into the picture, but do you have any closing comments?
I'm too stressed to make a comment because Margaret couldn't talk for so long. I don't have any additional comments.
All right.
I think everything looks okay here.
Okay, thank you. And Vernon, I understand you had some comments you want to make as well before we close.
Thank you, Mike, and good evening, Mayor, Alderman, and Planning Commissioners and others in attendance. I do want to just echo what my colleague Jimmy Wiseman brought up originally, because this is a quandary that we're facing with the recent changes in annexation laws that the state legislature put in place, and the county's zoning practices. Because in this instance, what we've heard from Margaret, I'll use Margaret, she's not in favor of the connectivity, but Commissioner Allen mentioned, the importance of connectivity. And the fact is that the county is controlling and dictating how we grow our city. The properties around this property are in the urban growth boundary, but we no longer have the ability to annex them by ordinance and extend infrastructure. That not only includes sewer and water, but also includes a road network. And we should never forget that our citizens in our annual surveys, overall, all our citizens talk about the impact of traffic. And whether connectivity is right in this situation or not, the fact remains the city doesn't have control when we're talking about annexing property, which we have to put our heads together to figure out, because it's not going to get any better. And our ordinances call for connectivity, and we're constantly having this discussion. And understandably, adjacent neighbors don't want connectivity. And the good news here in this situation, there's not much traffic on Lewisburg, and putting these 30 homes and cars out on Lewisburg obviously isn't going to create more congestion on that road. But I say that facetiously, but that's what happens in situations as we continue to grow in our wonderful city and county. Thank you for allowing me to make those comments.
Great, thank you, Vernon. Well, we'll move on to item number 4. This is discussion of a development plan revision, removing an external access point along Huffines Ridge Drive, Huffines Ridge PUD. Who is, Greg, are you representing the applicant?
I believe he is.
Yes, we are the applicant. Like I said at the beginning, we decided to be efficient tonight and just put these 3 items on here so we could roll through them one after another here. Yes, this is the Huffines Ridge PUD development plan. And to put it in a little bit of a context for you, this is Carruthers and Liberty Pike at the south of the screen. This is McEwen and Carruthers Parkway at the north of the screen. You have Orium to the north, Huffines Ridge development plan PUD here in the middle, Carruthers Crossing west to the south, Lifetime Fitness over here directly to the east. This middle road here, for context, is Orium Drive. It will extend from Liberty Pike all the way to a signalized intersection at McEwen. Over here is existing Huffines Ridge to the west, just before you get to I-65. This is the development plan that was approved for the Huffines Ridge PUD. On the development plan, we show a connection of a private drive, internal drive, I should say, between Orium and Huffines Ridge. We also show a stub connection here to Huff Hines Ridge coming out of the parking garage of the multifamily. It was determined during our site plan review process that these two intersections, this one here to the south at Crothers Crossing West, and this proposed intersection was too close together for a high volume local street, which is what this Orium Road is. As a result, we reconfigured the master plan, showing on the south an emergency access with grass pavers only along the southern boundary, eliminating this access point south of the apartment development. We redesigned this connection here to the north into a public street, identifying it as Azeel Drive, and it would be a direct connection from Orium to Huff Hines Ridge. Connection to the garage would be located off of Azeel Drive here on the north, and a connection to the garage would be off of Huff Hines Ridge here on this side. We discovered through this process that the recently installed, and I say recent, within the past couple of years, installed Millcrofton water line is installed too shallow for a roadway connection from this property to Huff Hines Ridge. So in this particular location, Huff Hines Ridge sits about 4 to 5 feet lower than the property on the east side of the property line, on the east side of the right-of-way. And so that whole area there needs to be lowered down in order to meet the requirements for this intersection. Millcrofton's water line is only about 3 feet below existing grade. We proposed, or my client proposed, lowering that water line. Millcrofton conversations with them started about 18 months ago. We have been working very closely with Vernon Girth, Jimmy Wiseman, the City of Franklin Engineering Department, Millcrofton Water Utility District. We've had countless meetings with them. We've had 2 board meetings. At both board meetings, Millcrofton refused to allow the lowering of the water line. We're still working on options with them. We're still trying to find a solution to connect to Huff Hines Ridge. We studied multiple alternatives. We looked at reclassifying Huff Hines Ridge to an interlocal, a local medium volume road, which would have a design speed of 25 and posted at 25. In that case, we would not have to lower Millcrofton's water line, but there's a concern that as traffic increases on Huff Hines Ridge with new development, that there would be some safety considerations that need to be, that would be problematic if we did not lower Huff Hines Ridge. You can see in this top graphic here how Huff Hines Ridge and the K value is going to be lowered so that it meets a design speed of 30 miles per hour instead of 25, making it a safer road at the intersection where we would be connected. So all of this kind of lowering causes us to have to lower Millcrofton's water line and is problematic. We need a temporary solution that may potentially be permanent if we cannot work through the issues with Millcrofton. We have not given up on solving the issues with Millcrofton. If Millcrofton allows us to lower the water line, that will be paid for by the developer and the connection will be made. This development plan proposal, though, proposes a T turnaround here at the end of this drive at the water line to provide access, one, to the historic Carruthers house, to provide access to the parking garage. We will still have automotive access from Azeel through the parking garage out to Huff Hines Ridge. So that's not going away. That's still intact. It's going to take between 2 to 2.5 years for the construction of the development that we've proposed. We believe that within that period of time, we'll be able to work through a solution with Mill Crofton Water Utility District. We have just about exhausted every other opportunity and are looking to both Planning Commission and the Board and Mayor and Alderman for the approval of this T-turnaround and limited connection to Huffines Ridge so that we can resolve this issue until we can work out the issues that we need to with Mill Crofton's Water Utility District. Also on the phone with me tonight, on the call list tonight is Jordan Goldberg. Jordan, I believe you had a couple of things you wanted to add to the conversation.
Yes. Eric Bell, my partner, is also here in case I missed anything. But I just wanted to say we bought this land 18 months ago and we got development plan approval at the same time. And we have over $14 million into this project. And we've done everything that the city has asked of us. And we've been delayed because of this line issue due to no fault of our own. We feel like it's a political battle that we shouldn't be a part of and be hurt by it. Every month that we don't build our $160 million project, we lose thousands of dollars, and the city also loses thousands in taxes that they won't get faster. We expected to be raising our buildings right now, and we've been in negotiations with the city for over 4 months just on this line. And we just hope that of all the options that are put in front of you, that the city tries real hard to accommodate one of them, because we've done everything that we can to accommodate you as well. And it's just very important for us and our investors that we can start as soon as possible. And that's all I basically have.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you. Anything else, Greg?
No, at this time we're happy to answer any questions. And
okay, thank you. Staff, any comments?
Yeah, I'll have a couple, and then I might turn it over to Vernon and Jimmy if they want to say anything. I just want to make a point that this is a development plan revision, and so it would be permanent if it was voted in by BOMA. So just keep that in mind. Also, I would like to point out that we've been trying to work with Goldberg Development and Greg and his group to find a solution that doesn't impact the project or anything around it. And so I'd like to point out that the Carter house is up here. No, I'm sorry, the Carruthers house is up on the screen over by where this connection is. And we've seen several designs, but this is the one that does not get any closer to the Carruthers house. So it is I would say the least impactful that we've seen. And so they've done a really good job to try to minimize that impact to the Carruthers house, that historic resource, with this, different solutions. So I'd like to point that out. But Vernon and Jimmy might have more to add.
Thank you, Amy. Jimmy, did you want to speak first or defer to me?
No, I compliment the patience of Goldberg through this process, because we've been in conversations with Mill Crofton for a better part of 16 months trying to solve this. And we had a good meeting this morning, oddly enough, but Vernon, you can probably elaborate more.
Yes, and thank you, Amy and Jimmy and everybody. And regretfully, I hope everybody that's listening here has gleaned the time that the Goldberg Company and the city has spent trying to work with a partner utility in Williamson County to promote economic development. While Mill Crofton does not serve this property, they do have an exclusive easement on the property in which they installed a main transmission line, without consideration for the future of Huffines Ridge. It's incumbent upon the city, and we've been trying to be patient with them, to have this line lowered at the cost of the developer, which they agreed to do 18 months ago. But Mill Crofton has constantly put up barriers in trying to allow this to be done. From where I sit, and I think a lot of other people, utilities are usually the impetus for economic development. Mill Crofton, in this instance, is not. Lowering the line is a little bit risky, but we've offered a lot of solutions with our city staff, Goldberg's engineering team, as well as representatives from Mill Crofton. As Greg stated, we appeared before the Mill Crofton Board of Directors twice, asking them to allow this line to be lowered at the cost of the developer, and the city would help coordinate that, to no avail. The only shining star in this discussion that I'm sharing with you is this morning, we had yet another conversation, and there seems to be a viable solution that will cost the developer, besides the cost of lowering the line and the delay, another $250,000 to install a pump with Mallory Valley if they agreed to do that. From our position, we're ready to go. We want to help the Goldberg Company. I know that their team has appreciated our efforts. Regretfully, I'm sharing this with you because it's the reality of this situation in the dysfunction of working with Mill Crofton. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Vernon. All right, we'll go to the commissioners first. Ms. Allen?
Take it from someone who used to work for a utility. They are in the bird seat right now, and sometimes getting the work done can be a pain, and I know that doesn't help out. One of the things I'd like to say to the Goldbergs, though, and I think I want to say to the city, thank you so much, because you guys have gone above and beyond. Mill Crofton does not march to our beat, unfortunately, and I just say kudos to staff and to Vernon for working so hard to get this done. But this is not on your heads. Thanks for working so hard on that.
Thank you, Marcia. Jimmy Franks, any comments?
No comments, thank you.
All right, Mr. Harrison, comments?
No comments at this time, thank you.
All right, Roger, any comments?
Yeah, just that I appreciate the level of effort that's gone into this. That T intersection, that T turnaround is a real cumbersome thing to have to deal with up in that part of it. But I understand too that lowering the line and the resulting having to install a pump becomes, kind of a challenging engineering solution as well. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Alma?
No comments.
Michael?
No questions.
Ms. Peterson? And you sound like you're underwater.
Can't hear you.
Ah, there you are. No, there you're gone.
Something's blocking your speaker and your video.
Okay. Well,
There we go.
okay, let's see.
That's much better.
What I was saying is that Williamson County does not have its own water sources for all this development that we have done over the last 80 years. And so we are dependent upon other sources for water. And this is one of the results where, unfortunately, I kind of have to appreciate Mill Crofton's situation in the sense that they're having to get water from somewhere else. And so doing something that might be at risk to them is also kind of tough. But I'm really sorry that all of this has occurred.
Thank you, Angie. Ms. Salaji?
Yeah, I'd just say, looking at the plan, it looks like you guys have tried to the best of your ability, and you still have connection through, and yeah. So, but other than that, no issue with it. No other comment.
Okay, Alderman Berger.
Yes. Two things. First of all, why don't we go with option 2? This seems to solve the problem. I'm looking at this as raise Huffines Ridge. Okay, raising of that a little bit, not a whole lot, but just a little bit. Mill Crofton utilities can be left as is, and the design speed lowered to 25. What's the big deal with that? 25 is perfectly fine for that road. And the major traffic's going to be internal on that major north to south road. I think we need to go with 2 and be done with it. Greg, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, can you talk to me about 2? Because isn't that the best alternative? I'm looking at the alternative.
Make sure city engineering addresses that.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
That's who's appropriate to address that, Bev.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, then city needs to address that because I don't see
Well, there's a very good explanation.
I want to know what the engineers have to say. Yeah.
So we recently got this option sent over to us, and certainly, given all the time we spent on it, wanted to exhaust all other options. And given the development potential to the north and the straightaway nature of this roadway, just simply lowering the design speed of a road does not take into account how fast traffic would actually flow and the volumes that would flow through here. So not only are we reducing the design speed on the vertical design, but also we would be limiting the sight distance for a driveway that's going to connect 2 major roadways and even on our 2 arterial roadways, or 3 rather, with if you count McEwen. So the traffic volumes through this area really don't merit us lowering design speeds when the actual speeds would be much, much higher, and certainly put a risk to people trying to enter and exit off of this driveway and other driveways as you go up and down Huffines as some of this other property develops.
Well, what are you designating Huffines Ridge? Because even with all the full development done, you're looking at a road that it connects, but it's sort of insignificant compared to the infrastructure of the roads within internal and also north to south. I don't see this road as being that significant even after development happens.
Understand, and certainly even if there's not significant development to the north, we do believe that this will be a valuable exit point for this large apartment complex too, to avoid having to get on Carruthers potentially and getting back into town. So anytime we can, thank you, Greg, that's a good illustration. Anytime we can promote safer designs on our roadways, we need to try to do that as best we can. And we didn't want to compromise safety in this circumstance.
All right. Well, I was looking at the safety feature. I thought it was more safe. Okay, so the last question I would have is, was it Mr. Goldberg who's on here? How about accepting some kind of condition of approval with the city that if the road is connected, if the road could be connected, if Mill Crofton, if you finally get to the point where Mill Crofton allows the line to be lowered prior, say, to certificate of finally of occupancy, when you get to that point, how about, could the city do that? Could we request Mr. Goldberg to accept a condition of approval where the road be connected if they finally get to that point where Mill Crofton allows them to lower that?
I mean, I would have no problem with the conditional permit. I might need Evan Vlamink, who's here, who's our development director, to comment on that if it's feasible given what it takes to put that in.
Sure, Bev. I mean, we've talked along those lines with staff at various points about a development agreement that would, again, we are not looking to relieve ourselves of any of our obligations here. In fact, we're really trying to undertake more obligations with the city as we build and construct and become a resident, a corporate resident of the city of Franklin. So yes, we would entertain a development agreement with conditions such as that.
Well, I'm just going to throw that out there because y'all said in the beginning, I heard everybody say that they're still working with Mill Crofton, and then you need to move ahead. And, you know, notice somebody said, you know, it's not only getting the work done, utilities can be a real pain here, but I get it. It's very expensive. And every day that you don't get this, it's expensive. It's expensive not only for the developer, it's expensive for the city too. It puts us off and continues to make, put our staff in the mix of all this. So I'm just looking at a way to move it forward. So staff would, Vernon, whoever wants to speak to that, if they're still working with Mill Crofton, maybe we put some kind of condition in there that condition.
If I may, Mike, or
yeah, go ahead, Vernon.
Yeah, the reason that we've brought this plan to you is to provide an alternative in the event that Mill Crofton does not allow the developer to lower that line. And so, because the Goldberg Company has been working on this for 1.5 years when we should see buildings coming out of the ground. Evan and the Goldberg team have been exemplary development partners. Their patience, I've never seen in my 40-some years career of how much time they have taken to try to navigate this. On the same token, as you heard me say before, I've never had a utility put up these barriers either. But regardless, I am confident that we can work through a development agreement that if Mill Crofton allows the line to be lowered, they'll complete the improvements to the water line, to Huffines Ridge, and we'll get the connection. And I should also mention that the other property owners along Huffines Ridge definitely have expressed concern of this lot of Huffines Ridge not being improved. We know that there's interest in at least one, if not two hotels along Huffines Ridge. So the amount of traffic that will use this road in a very dense area of our city, that road needs to be improved so it handles traffic going forward. So thank you for the questions.
Okay. Alderman Berger, any other questions?
No, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for discussing, because I just want us to see how we can find a solution to this.
Sure. Alderman Martin?
Yes. I've got a lot of engineers in my family. I'm not one of them. And I don't think anybody on this board is qualified to even comment on this. I would like to leave it up to our engineering department and
I beg to differ.
Yeah.
And so do I, because I'm an engineer by degree. Thank you.
I think it's different too,
Well,
Margaret.
all right, I forget. I ask for forgiveness then. But I'm not one of them. And I would like to hear from our engineers what they would recommend rather than what I would recommend.
I can speak to that. We looked at many options that we thought could work, and I'll spare you the many conversations we had with Mill Crofton, but it comes down to a preferential way of lowering this line for them, and some risks that they would have to take on. Certainly, it's a very important feed, and we appreciate that and understand that. As Vernon mentioned, we had a good meeting this morning. It seemed that everything was very positive. There is a cost to this solution of adding a pump to the Mallory Valley line that's in this location. And then Mill Crofton would essentially have to buy more water from Mallory Valley if there was an extended downtime for this line as it is lowered. We don't anticipate any extensive downtime, but things happen, anything can happen. So the appropriate emergency connection would be in place for water to be supplied to the Mill Crofton customers. So it seems that we found the most logical engineering solution at this point in time. Granted, it took us a very, very long time to get there, mainly because of preferences that Middle Crofton have in place for how their infrastructure is to be relayed or constructed.
All right, thank you. Ms. Martin, anything else?
Just do you have an answer, Jimmy?
The answer we got this morning was the one I feel like we should go with.
I think we should go with it.
Outside of doing anything else that everyone would agree to. It was the one everyone would agree to, so that's usually the one that's the best.
That's wonderful.
Are they against two hot taps and 2 line stops?
Yes, sir. They were against that.
Yes. And I appreciate Jimmy, and I appreciate the opinions of certainly the aldermen and the rest of the staff who have been in lockstep with Goldberg as we have proceeded along this path. I will say that I thought we had a great solution at the end of June also that has fizzled over time. And I'm hopeful that we can get the pump station alternative that Jimmy described moving forward. But in lieu of that, and essentially complementing that, we need an alternative like one of the two we've put in front of you this evening so that we can move forward with the project while trying to work through the rest of the Mill Crofton issue for potentially another 4 months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Moore, any comments?
I know staff's worked really hard on this with his team, and I think it's time to get this thing up out of the ground and move forward, and whatever other agreements we need to match with it, let's do it, get it done.
Great. Eric, I understand you wanted to comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and just note, I want to compliment the staff work. You've seen, they've been diligent, they've been creative. It has been frustrating. You can sense that from the comments that were made before. This development team could not have been more helpful and collaborative throughout, and that spirit continues. But I will tell you, lowering the line has some challenges, but it's not an uncommon thing to have to do. And all we're trying to build is a public road. This does not need to have been nearly as painful as it is, but we will work through it and we will get there. This is all done at the development's cost. And, I really am disappointed in the lack of cooperation from the Mill Crofton Utility Group. I just have to be honest with you. I've been in those board meetings, and for some reason, there's just been this aversion to doing this. And I get that it's not in their service area, but it is just the way we ought to work together to be able to allow the appropriate public infrastructure to be built. And our team's going to remain committed to doing that, and we will get there. I'm encouraged by some of what I heard today. I've been doing interviews all day, so I don't know the specifics, but I am encouraged by the work. But that is the spirit of trying to find solutions, even in the midst of some pretty significant frustration. And I want to thank the development team for their patience and the staff team for their dedication as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, that's all the items we have tonight. So I think we are adjourned. Commissioners, I'll see you back at 7 o'clock.
Thank you very much.